Okay, so we've watched the video that Dave just did on building up this screen right here, both in light mode and dark mode, all in UIKit. So as part of this series, what I'm doing is taking various UIKit implementations and redoing them in SwiftUI as kind of a way to learn SwiftUI if you're already familiar with UIKit. So let's take a look at how we would build this now in SwiftUI. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new Xcode project. And I'm going to give it the name Smoothie. And we're just going to make sure that our interface is set to SwiftUI, and let's use the SwiftUI app lifecycle, although we won't need or cover it in this particular video. But we'll go ahead and create that on the desktop, and we'll get our new project up and running. So what I'm going to do is go down here to Content View. That's kind of our main view. I'm going to get rid of this sidebar over here, and I'm going to come up here and say, you know what, I like to see things in, let's say, iPhone 12. And what I'm going to do is, this is just a template that SwiftUI is always going to give you when you first start out. So we'll go ahead and make this a little bigger so we can see this. And over here is something called the canvas. The canvas is where we're going to have an ability to see what we're working on immediately without having to go into the simulator. So if I just Command B over here, we can see that we've done a quick build. And once that build completes, I'm going to hit resume over here on the right. And this is going to bring up our canvas that we can get a live view of whatever we do over here with our code. We're going to see it right over here. Okay, so it's popped up here. Maybe we'll just take it down just a little bit in magnification so that we have a nice view of that. And then we're going to start. So if we look at what we have over here, we have, as Dave kind of pointed out in his video, it looks like we have probably an H stack along here, which are going to be these buttons. And then this looks like it's all put together in a V stack, so vertically aligned. And then that whole thing is put together in another H stack where we have our green circle as well. So we can build this in, several different ways. But one way to do it would be to, let me bring this over here so we can kind of see what we're working with at the same time. And one of the things I want to show is how you can work right here in the canvas and then have code show up here for you. So for example, let's start with that circle. So the green circle. So I can click the plus up here, and I'll just type CIR, and that will take us down to circle of one of the many elements that are here. And I'm going to drag it, and as I drag it, you'll see it's giving me options to put it in several different places. And so I really want this to be to the left of Hello World. And notice down at the bottom here, it's saying, I can't really move my cursor, but way down at the bottom underneath the iPhone itself, it says add circle to a new horizontal stack along with the existing text. That's exactly what we want. So I'm going to just let up, and boom, we've now added a circle here. And notice over here on the left, we've created a piece of code called HStack. And here is the circle that we have now declared. That's the circle here. And here is the text, hello world, with some padding around it. So what has happened here is basically the circle is taking up as much space as it can without really overcrowding this particular text field where it says hello world. So one of the things we could do is say, well, we don't want it that big and we want it to be green, right? So I'm going to do Control Option and then click on this circle, and I'm going to get a series of modifiers that I can add to this. So one of them right here, it's giving me an option already to say what is the frame size. So that would be similar to UIKit. But what I'm going to do, I'll do a frame size of 50. And as I type 50 in there, then this just shrunk down to 50 wide. And it's really high here because we haven't adjusted the height, but because the circle has a consistent aspect ratio, it's only drawn to be that wide. Now, over here on the left, we can see that our circle, now we have a modifier attached to our circle declaration called .frame with a width of 50. So it literally wrote the code for us over here. So let's say, well, we don't know what modifier to do to change the color. So what I can do is go over here and do, again, Shift Option, and I can come down here to Modifiers, and you can see all the different modifiers that I can do. And I can type in COLOR for color, and there's a bunch of different ones, but one of them that looks promising is foreground color. So I'm going to click on foreground color, and I didn't mean for that to go away. Let me click on this again, but you see it put foreground color in and it put blue there. So let's take that blue and make it green, and then click away, and we now have a green circle. And over here, we can see the modifier has been added for us. And of course, I can go here and do it as well. I can type right in the code. So I could type red here, and now I have a red circle. So we'll go back and put green in there. So we've got our green circle, and we have one of the pieces of text. Now there's actually, if we look here, there's 3 pieces of text that we need to deal with. So I'm going to need 2 more here. So one of the ways I can do that is I can go up here to the plus, and I can type in text. That's what this particular view is. And I'm going to grab text, and I'm going to bring it down. And you'll notice as I put it right on top of Hello World, it says add text to a new vertical stack along with the existing text. That's what we want. So I'm going to let go. And now I have this new placeholder text right here. And notice it's declared a V stack inside our H stack. So we have the circle, and now we have this vertical stack. And then we have the text of placeholder. And we could change this text right here to say mango smoothie. And the second set of text is going to be mango, banana, and water. And you'll notice that there's also a modifier here that says padding. If we actually come over here and do that Control Option click, we can see that padding actually has a blue dot on it, which says that it has added padding, or it has added the padding modifier. I don't want that, so I'm going to take that out. So I'm going to just change that to go away. Notice now these things are much closer together. That's fine. And notice in our text, it took away that dot padding. I'll just take out this blank line. So we want one more text item underneath this. Now we could go do that from here and drop it like we did before, or we could start getting fancier here and say, you know what, I'm going to just copy and paste that text to make a third text item. And here I'm going to say 320 calories. So now what I've done is I've gotten the text just like the text here, but it doesn't look quite right. First of all of these are centered, right? And these are all left justified. So if we go over here, the VStack, here I'm clicking on the VStack, and you can see it highlights over here in blue the whole VStack. We want to be able to left justify that. And the way we can do it is, if we don't know how to do that, is we can say Control Option click, and notice on the vertical stack here, here's an alignment. So we can click left here, and now it is left aligned all of our text. And notice what it did up here. It added a property or an argument onto the VStack saying vstack.leading. And with UIKit as well as SwiftUI, the references are to leading and trailing, mainly because of different languages. It might actually be the other way. Some languages you read right to left and so forth. So rather than saying left justified or right justified, we do leading and trailing. So now we have everything left justified. Well, let's say I'm going to, on this mango smoothie, I don't know how to get it to be more bold. So again, I'll do Control Option click. And if I look up here on font, here's inherited. Why don't we try, let's do large title. And so if we click it to large title, wow, that's really large. So we could try something else. Let's just do one more. I will make it, how about title 3? I think that might be better. Okay, that's looking a little better. And we could do a weight of bold here, and now we have done, so that's looking better. And then this is maybe fine the way it is. And then this one, we want it to be even smaller. And I believe that is caption or call out. So call out. So if we click on call out, it made that smaller. And notice how it's added all of these modifiers on to the various elements as we've changed it. So now what we want to do is get our 5 blue dots underneath right here. So what we can do to do that is add a horizontal stack here. And we can do that by coming up to here and saying H stack. And we could grab this H stack and we can come down here. And it's saying it's going to add a horizontal stack to a new vertical stack. Well, I don't know that I want it to be a new vertical stack. I want it to actually be part of the vertical stack that we already have. So sometimes I don't use this on the right. So I'm going to just get rid of that. But it's interesting that I can drop this in the code. So I can say here, I can say horizontal stack, and I can come down here, and I can drop it right there, and it's dropped a horizontal stack set of code for me. Now, here's the cool part. What we want is 5 circles. So we can do what's called a for each in our declaration. So I can say 0 to 5, and then this syntax is something that you'll get used to. This is standard Swift syntax, where you sort of have this function that's called, and we're throwing away, with the underbar, we're just throwing away the index. We don't care what it is, but this is allowing us to put whatever we want here 5 times. So I could just type in circle here, and when I do that, now every once in a while when you do something like this, if it needs to recompile here, you'll see that this gets paused up here. So we don't have a green dot and it's asking to resume. So usually I'll just do Command B just to make sure this builds properly, which it does. Now I'll hit resume and the canvas will be back and caught up with what it is we're doing. So now you'll say, wow, this is really messed up. Well, what it is if you look at each circle is horizontally placed. That's good. They're too big. They're not the right color, and we don't want this height. So what we can do is we've learned about frame. So we can say frame, and I could say width 20 and height 20. And notice as I do that, look, they all just came right back down to a nice height. And the next thing I could say is dot foreground color is dot blue, and now they've been changed to blue. So very close to this. I would say getting there. So the final thing is that we want this sort of left justified. We're sitting here in the center of the whole thing, but this is showing it, if we look at it, it's off to the left of the whole screen. So that means we want to add some spacing to the right in our H stack. So we can come down here to the end of this V stack. So we have the circle and the V stack, and then right here I can type in spacer, or I could have found that from my other elements that I could pick up here. So if I go here, I could type in and I would see spacer. That's probably a good way to find it. Once you learn these, then you just use them and you use them in the code. So now what we've done is we've added a spacer here and we've pushed everything over to the left. Now, the final thing we're going to do is give it a little padding, because you'll notice it's right on the edge, and we don't really like that. And even here, notice it's not right on the edge here. So what we can do is on this H stack right here, I can say padding. What that will do is put padding around the entire H stack all the way around. Obviously, we don't really care on all these 3 sides, but right here, we end up getting the padding that we want. And so there you go. We've basically done this over here, and we have done it by using the canvas. By the way, I never ran the simulator at all. We could do that. So let's go ahead and run. And when the simulator comes up and runs, we should see the same thing. But what's cool about this is that while the simulator is coming up, the key is that you're not jumping back to the simulator all the time every time you make a change in your code. You're basically, as you make code changes here, you're immediately seeing those changes right here in your canvas. So we're going to go ahead and make sure this is green so that you know that your canvas is live and it's doing what you want. And then we're bringing up the simulator here, and we should end up with the same thing. One other thing while I'm waiting on the simulator, another trick I will show you is there are these previews here. And so I could say, gee, I wonder how this looks in where the color scheme is dark. So I could come down here to dark and I change the color scheme, and notice now this re-rendered in dark. And down here, this code, which does not end up in your final app, but is here just for your development, it says content view dot preferred color scheme dark. So you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I could copy this and let's just paste it. And I'm going to say light here. And now I have two views, one in light, one in dark. And so as I work, I can see exactly how things are going to look in both in light mode and dark mode. And then I'm going to bring over the simulator here, and here we are in the simulator. And yep, it looks exactly like what we have in the canvas.